Alex Carter looked out the large window of Space Station Artemis 7. Stars shone brightly against the black of space. She sighed and turned back to her desk, where piles of papers waited for her. Being a diplomatic envoy for Earth was mostly boring work. She spent her days writing reports and solving small trade problems with the alien species that humans already knew. Another quiet day, she said to herself as she sat down. Her computer screen lit up with a red alert. Unknown ship detected at the edge of the system, a voice announced over the speakers. Alex jumped to her feet. This was not normal. All ships were supposed to send notice before coming to the station. She rushed down the hallway to the main control room where other staff members were already gathering. "What do we know?" she asked Diane, the station's security chief. "Not much," Diane replied, her eyes fixed on the big screen that showed the approaching ship. "It's big, it's fast, and it's not answering our calls." The ship was unlike anything Alex had seen before. It was black as night and shaped like a sharp blade. It moved through space with grace that suggested very advanced technology. "It's slowing down," someone called out. "I think it's going to dock." Alex felt her heart beat faster. As the diplomatic envoy, it was her job to meet any visitors, even unexpected ones. She straightened her uniform and headed to the docking area with Diane and 2 guards following close behind. They waited as the airlock cycled. When the door finally opened, Alex had to stop herself from gasping out loud. 5 aliens stood before them. They were tall, much taller than any human, with purple skin that seemed to shimmer like it had tiny stars embedded in it. They wore black armor that fit their bodies perfectly. 4 of them carried weapons and stood protectively around the 5th. The one in the middle stepped forward. She was clearly the leader. Silver markings decorated her face, and her eyes were also silver, with no whites or pupils that Alex could see. Just solid, shining silver that somehow still conveyed emotion. Right now, that emotion looked like urgent concern. "I am Commander Nira Calvex of the Vexillarian Royal Fleet," the alien said in perfect English. Her voice was deep and musical. "We require immediate assistance. Our ship has been damaged while escaping Korthari raiders." Alex had never heard of Vexillarians or Korthari before. This was first contact with a completely new species, and it was happening on her watch. She tried to stay calm as she stepped forward. "Welcome to Artemis 7. I'm Alex Carter, Earth's diplomatic envoy to this sector. We can certainly help with repairs." Alex couldn't help but notice how the commander's armor highlighted her strong, athletic body. The commander stood straight and proud, her silver eyes taking in everything around her with sharp intelligence. Despite the serious situation, Alex felt a smile tugging at her lips. "Hey, beauty queen, no need to be so formal," she said, trying to ease the tension in the room. "We're all friends here." The moment the words left her mouth, Alex knew she had made a mistake. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The commander's silver eyes flashed with a dangerous light. "Watch your mouth, human," she snapped, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "I am the Supreme Commander of the Vexillarian Royal Fleet, not some decorative object for your amusement." The 4 guards behind her reached for their weapons. Alex froze, suddenly aware that she might have just started an interstellar incident with her casual human humor. But instead of giving an order to attack, the commander raised one hand, a hand with 6 long, elegant fingers, to stop her guards. "The human meant no disrespect," she said, her eyes never leaving Alex's. "Their species is known for inappropriate humor in tense situations." Alex's heart pounded in her chest. She wasn't sure if it was from fear or something else entirely. Something about this commanding alien woman made her feel things she hadn't expected. "I apologize, Commander," Alex said, finding her voice again. "You're right, that was inappropriate of me." Nira nodded once, accepting the apology. "Our ship needs repairs immediately. The Korthari may still be tracking us. If they find us here, your station will be in danger too." "Of course, we'll start right away," Alex said. She touched the communication device on her wrist. "This is Carter. I need all available engineers to the main dock. Priority 1. As they waited for the engineering team to arrive, Alex studied the alien commander more carefully. Despite her harsh words, there was something fascinating about her. The way she held herself, the authority she commanded, the strange beauty of her otherworldly features, it all combined to create a presence that was impossible to ignore. "These Korthari," Alex said. "Are they likely to follow you here?" "It is possible," Nira replied. "They are relentless hunters. My ship destroyed 2 of theirs before we escaped, but there were more." "Then we should prepare our defenses just in case," Alex said. She turned to Diane. "Alert level 2. I want all defensive systems ready." Diane nodded and hurried away to carry out the order. "Your defenses will not stop a Korthari warship," Nira said bluntly. "Maybe not," Alex admitted. "But we'll try anyway. That's what humans do." For a moment, something that might have been respect flickered in the commander's silver eyes. "Indeed. Your species has a reputation for courage despite overwhelming odds." The engineering team arrived then, and Alex led the Vexillarians to the station's meeting room while the repairs began. As they walked, she felt the commander's gaze on her back. This was going to be the most interesting diplomatic mission of her career, if they all survived it. In the meeting room, Nira spread out a star chart and began explaining who the Korthari were and why they were chasing her ship. Alex listened closely, mesmerized by the commander's voice and the tale of a conflict that spanned multiple star systems, and all the while, her heart continued to beat just a little too fast whenever the commander's silver eyes met hers. 2 days passed since the Vexillarian ship arrived at Artemis 7. The space station buzzed with activity as human engineers worked with the alien crew to fix their damaged ship. Everyone wanted to see the mysterious purple-skinned visitors. Alex found herself assigned as the official liaison to Commander Nira, which meant spending most of her time with the tall alien woman. "Your repair methods are surprisingly effective despite your basic technology," Nira said as they walked through the docking bay where teams worked on the black warship. Alex wasn't sure if that was a compliment or an insult. "We make do with what we have," she replied. Nira nodded. "Adaptation is a valuable skill. My people rely too much on advanced technology. When it fails, many do not know how to improvise." They continued their tour of the station, reaching the command center where officers monitored space around them for any sign of the Korthari ships that might be hunting the Vexillarians. "Your defensive systems are primitive," Nira observed as she studied the control panels. "The Korthari will tear through them like paper if they track us here." Alex felt her face grow warm. She was getting tired of the constant criticism of human technology. "We manage just fine," she said, her voice sharper than she intended. "Not everyone has fancy light-speed cannons and quantum shields." Instead of being angry at Alex's tone, Nira turned to her with what might have been the beginning of a smile on her purple face. "Your species' resilience is admirable. Despite your technological limitations, you've expanded farther into the galaxy than many races with twice your capabilities." The almost compliment caught Alex by surprise. Before she could respond, a loud alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed on every screen. "What's happening?" she asked, rushing to the nearest control panel. "Unknown ship detected at the edge of the system," reported Diane, who was on duty. It's huge." The main screen showed a massive ship appearing at the edge of their sensor range. It was at least 3 times larger than Nira's vessel and covered with what looked like weapon ports. Even to Alex's untrained eye, it was clearly built for war. "Korthari battlecruiser," Nira whispered. The commander's usual confidence seemed to falter for the first time since her arrival. "They found us." "How?" Alex asked. "I thought you said you lost them." "They must have tracked our quantum wake. Their technology for hunting is more advanced than we realized." Nira's silver eyes narrowed as she studied the image. "My ship isn't ready yet. The main engines are still offline." Alex looked at the tactical display, her mind racing. The Korthari ship was moving slowly but steadily toward the station. According to the computer's estimates, they had about 3 hours before it arrived. "Then we'll have to fight them with what we have," she said firmly. Nira looked at her with surprise. "You would risk your station and your people for us?" You have no obligation to fight our battles. Maybe not, Alex agreed. But we're not in the habit of throwing allies to the wolves. Besides, I doubt the Korthari would spare us just because we handed you over. No, they would not, Naira confirmed. The Korthari destroy any civilization they deem inferior. Your station would be reduced to atoms regardless. Alex nodded and began issuing orders to the station staff. Sound general quarters. I want all civilians to the emergency shelters. Bring all defensive systems online and prepare to evacuate non-essential personnel via the emergency shuttles. As Alex reached for the tactical display to show Naira their defensive capabilities, the alien commander reached for the same spot. Their fingers brushed against each other, and Alex felt what seemed like an electric spark jump between them. They both froze for a moment, standing inches apart. Alex was suddenly very aware of how close they were. She could see tiny flecks of light in Naira's purple skin that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. The commander's silver eyes widened slightly, and Alex wondered if she had felt the same strange connection. I'll show you our weapon systems, Alex said, pulling her hand back. Yes, that would be helpful, Naira replied, her voice not quite as steady as usual. They spent the next hour preparing the station's defenses. Naira's knowledge of Korthari tactics proved invaluable as they positioned their limited weapons for maximum effect. The Vexillarian warriors from Nira's ship joined the station's security team, teaching them how to use some of their advanced weapons. We'll focus our main energy cannons on their forward sensors, Naira explained as they finalized their battle plan. Korthari ships are most vulnerable there. If we can blind them, we might create an opening for your shuttles to escape. Alex shook her head. I'm not evacuating. This is my station. That is unwise, Naira said with a frown. The odds of survival are... I don't care about the odds, Alex interrupted. My people are here. I stay with them. For a long moment, Naira stared at her. Then, to Alex's surprise, the alien commander reached out and briefly touched her shoulder, the first time she had initiated any physical contact. Your courage honors your species, Naira said quietly. As the Korthari ship drew closer, tensions on the station rose. Engineers worked frantically to finish repairs on the Vexillarian ship, hoping to at least get its weapon systems online even if the engines weren't ready. In a quiet moment between preparations, Alex found Naira standing alone at a viewport, looking out at the stars. Your people work well under pressure, the commander said without turning around. Most races would be panicking by now. We're good in a crisis, Alex replied, moving to stand beside her. It's one of our better qualities. What are your other qualities? Naira asked, finally turning to look at her. Alex was surprised by the personal question. Well, we're stubborn, curious, adaptable, sometimes foolishly brave. And what are your qualities, Alex Carter? Naira's silver eyes seemed to look right through her. The use of her full name sent a strange shiver down Alex's spine. I'm pretty much like most humans. Nothing special. I disagree, Naira said simply. There's something different about you. Before, Alex could ask what she meant. The station's alarm blared again. Diane's voice came over the communication system. The Korthari ship has increased speed. Time to intercept now estimated at 30 minutes. The moment of quiet connection broken, they hurried back to the command center. Station staff moved with purpose, everyone knowing their role in the coming battle. The few civilians who had refused evacuation were secured in the central shelters as far from the outer hull as possible. Status of the Vexillarian ship? Alex asked as they entered the command center. Weapons at 60% capacity, an engineer reported. Shields at 40%, engines still offline. It will have to be enough, Naira said grimly. She turned to her warriors who stood ready for her orders. Prepare for battle stations. We will coordinate with the humans to maximize our defensive capability. As the Korthari battlecruiser grew larger on their screens, Alex felt fear trying to take hold in her stomach. She pushed it away. There was no time for fear now. All personnel battle station, she ordered. This is not a drill. Standing side by side at the tactical console, human and alien prepared to face an enemy that outgunned them many times over. Against all logic, Alex found herself glad that Naira was beside her. Whatever happened in the next few hours, they would face it together. The battle began with a blinding flash as the Korthari ship fired its first salvo. Artemis 7 shook violently. Warning lights flashed across every control panel in the command center. Shields holding at 70%, Diane reported, her fingers flying over her console. Minor damage to outer sectors. Return fire, Alex ordered. Pattern Alpha like we planned. The station's weapons responded, energy beams lancing out toward the massive enemy ship. Most were absorbed by the Korthari shields, but a few found weak spots causing small explosions along the hull. Good hits, Naira said, watching the tactical display. But their shields are still at 90% capacity. For the next 6 hours, the battle raged. The Vexillarian ship, despite being only partially repaired, joined the fight, its advanced weapons causing more damage to the Korthari than the station could. 3 times the enemy ship tried to lock tractor beams onto Naira's vessel, and 3 times the combined fire from the station and the Vexillarians drove them back. By the 12th hour, everyone was exhausted. The command center was filled with smoke from damaged systems. Emergency repair teams rushed from section to section, trying to keep vital systems online. We can't take much more of this, Alex said, wiping sweat from her forehead. A cut above. Her eye had dried, leaving a trail of blood down her cheek. Shields are down to 20%. Nira nodded grimly. The commander looked as tired as Alex felt. Even her purple skin seemed less bright after hours of battle. The Korthari are also damaged. Their main weapon array is offline. Maybe they'll retreat? Alex suggested hopefully. No, Naira said. They never retreat. They will fight until they are destroyed. As if to prove her point, the enemy ship launched a new attack, targeting a section of the station that had already been damaged. The impact sent tremors through the entire structure. Hull breach in Section 7, someone shouted over the communication system. Emergency bulkheads failing. Alex's heart sank. Section 7 housed one of the main power distribution nodes. Without it, their weapons would be severely weakened. I need to get there, she said, already moving toward the door. Diane, you have command. I will accompany you, Naira declared, following her. They raced through the corridors, passing injured crew, members, and damaged equipment. When they reached Section 7, the scene was worse than Alex had feared. The outer hull had been breached, and only emergency force fields were keeping the atmosphere from venting into space. The main power node was behind a collapsed support beam. We need to stabilize that node, Alex said, pointing to the sparking equipment, but that beam is blocking access. Without hesitation, Naira moved to the beam and began to lift it. Her Vexillarian strength was greater than a human's, but even she struggled with the weight. Quickly, she grunted. I cannot hold it long. Alex slipped past her and reached the power node. She worked as fast as she could, rerouting critical systems and bypassing damaged circuits. Just as she finished, a second explosion rocked the section. The force field flickered and the damaged ceiling began to collapse. Alex looked up to see a large metal panel falling directly toward her. There was no time to move. She closed her eyes, waiting for the impact, but it never came. When she opened her eyes, Naira was standing over her, holding the metal panel with both hands, her face contorted with effort. Move, the commander ordered through gritted teeth. Alex scrambled away and Naira let the panel fall with a crash. But before they could reach the exit, a final explosion sent a shockwave through the section. The last thing Alex saw was Naira, reaching for her as debris rained down around them. When Alex regained consciousness, she was pinned under a heavy metal beam. The air was thin, and warning lights indicated that the force field was failing. She tried to push the beam off, but it wouldn't budge. Pain shot through her chest with every breath. Help, she called weakly. But her voice was barely audible even to her own ears. As her vision began to blur from lack of oxygen, she saw a figure moving through the smoke. Naira appeared above her, looking injured herself. Purple blood flowed from a deep cut across her forehead, and her armor was cracked in several places. You will not die today, human, Naira growled as she gripped the beam, crushing Alex's chest. With a display of strength that seemed impossible given her injuries, The Vexillarian commander lifted the beam. Alex pulled herself free, gasping as pain lanced through her ribs. "Thank you," she whispered as Naira helped her to her feet. "Can you walk?" Naira asked, her silver eyes scanning Alex's body for injuries. "I think so," Alex said, though her legs felt weak. Naira supported her with one arm around her waist, and together they made their way out of the damaged section just before the force field collapsed entirely. Emergency medical teams met them in the corridor, and both were taken to the medical bay. The station's doctors examined Alex first, confirming that she had 3 broken ribs and a mild concussion, but nothing life-threatening. As they treated her injuries, she watched Naira being examined by another doctor. The human medical staff clearly had no experience with Vexillarian physiology, but they did their best to clean and bandage her wounds. Hours later, when the medical bay had quieted and most of the staff had moved on to treat other injured crew members, Alex found herself alone with Naira. The commander sat on the edge of a bed across from her, looking strangely vulnerable without her full armor. "Why did you save me?" Alex asked quietly. "Your own warriors needed you." Naira's silver eyes seemed to soften in the dim light. "Because you fought well. Because your death would have been displeasing to me." "Just displeasing?" Alex smiled through her pain. "Do not push your luck, human," Naira replied, but there was no malice in her words. Her 6-fingered hand reached out hesitantly before withdrawing. "My people do not form attachments easily. We are taught from birth that emotional connections are weaknesses to be exploited by enemies." "And what do you believe?" Alex asked, genuinely curious. Naira was silent for a long moment before answering. "I believe that watching you stand against the Korthari with nothing but your primitive weapons and unbreakable will was the most beautiful thing I have witnessed in my 217 years of existence." The admission hung in the air between them, neither willing to address what it might mean. The damaged station creaked and groaned around them, a wounded giant struggling to survive, much like the fragile alliance forming between 2 very different warriors. 17 years? Alex finally said, latching onto the safest part of Naira's statement. "You look good for your age." A sound escaped Naira that Alex realized with shock was a laugh, brief and rusty, as if rarely used, but a laugh nonetheless. "My species lives much longer than humans," she explained. "I am considered young among my people." Before they could continue their conversation, Diane burst into the medical bay. "The Korthari ship is retreating," she announced excitedly. "They've taken too much damage. They're leaving the system." Alex couldn't believe it. "We won?" "Not won," Naira corrected. "Survived. There is a difference. They will return with reinforcements." Despite the warning, Alex felt a surge of pride. Their small station and 1 damaged Vexillarian ship had driven off a Korthari battlecruiser. It was no small achievement. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Days, perhaps." "No more than a week," Naira said. "We must use this time wisely. My ship needs to be fully repaired before they return." Alex nodded, then winced as the movement aggravated her broken ribs. "We'll put every engineer we have on it, day and night shifts." Naira studied her with concern. "You should rest. Your injuries require time to heal." "So should you," Alex countered, nodding toward the bandage on Naira's forehead. "My physiology allows for rapid healing," Naira said dismissively. "I will be fully recovered by tomorrow." Despite her protest, the commander did look tired. The battle had taken a toll on everyone, alien and human alike. "Get some sleep," Alex said gently. "That's an order." Naira's eyebrows rose in surprise. "You do not command me, human." "No, but right now, we're in my medical bay, on my station," Alex replied with a small smile. "So humor me, beauty queen." "Watch your mouth, human," Naira said, but there was warmth in her voice that hadn't been there when she'd first uttered those words. She stood and moved toward the door, pausing to look back at Alex. "Rest well, Alex Carter. Tomorrow we prepare for war again." As Naira left, Alex settled back against her pillow, wondering at the strange turn her life had taken. A week ago, she had been aboard diplomatic envoy filing reports. Now she was recovering from battle wounds after fighting alongside an alien commander who had saved her life. And somewhere along the way, she had started to care about that commander in a way that went beyond diplomatic relations or even military alliance. It was a complication she hadn't expected, and one that both terrified and thrilled her. 3 days after the battle, repairs were well underway on both the station and the Vexillarian ship. Alex had been released from the medical bay but was still under orders to take it easy. Of course, she ignored those orders. There was too much work to be done before the Korthari returned. The main engines should be online by tomorrow, the chief engineer reported during the morning briefing. The weapons systems are already at 90% capacity. Good work, Alex said, looking around the table at her tired but determined staff. And our station? Shields are back to 60%, Diane answered. We've repaired most of the critical systems, but sections 7 and 9 are still unusable. Alex nodded, trying not to wince as her broken ribs protested the movement. What about the emergency evacuation ships? Are they ready? Yes, but we're hoping not to use them, Diane said with a tight smile. After the meeting, Alex found herself walking toward the docking bay where the Vexillarian ship was being repaired. She told herself she was just checking on progress, but, in truth, she was looking for Nira. The commander had been busy overseeing repairs to her own vessel, and they had barely seen each other since leaving the medical bay. The Vexillarian ship was impressive up close. Its black hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it look like a piece of the void itself had been shaped into a warship. Human engineers worked alongside Vexillarian crew members, both sides learning from each other despite the language barrier. Alex noticed an open hatch and, out of curiosity, stepped inside. The interior of the ship was as alien as its exterior, all smooth curves and materials that seemed to glow with their own light. She wandered deeper, fascinated by the advanced technology surrounding her. In what appeared to be a control room, she found a console that was active. Displays showed star charts and data in the Vexillarian language. Something about the configuration caught her eye. It looked like a secure communication system. Without thinking, she touched the screen, and to her surprise, it responded to her touch, opening a file. The screen filled with recorded messages. Though she couldn't read the Vexillarian text, the system automatically translated the audio into English. "Your Highness," a voice said from the recording, "the Royal Council awaits your return. The usurper grows stronger each day. Without the rightful queen, our people lose hope." Alex froze. "Your Highness? Queen?" She touched another message. "The Korthari alliance with your sister has given them access to our defense codes. No Vexillarian world is safe while she sits on the throne. You must find allies strong enough to help us reclaim our homeworld." Alex's mind raced as she pieced together what she was hearing. Nira wasn't just a commander, she was royalty. A queen in exile, running from both the Korthari and what sounded like a treasonous sister. "What are you doing here?" The sharp voice made Alex jump. She turned to find Nira standing in the doorway, her silver eyes cold with anger. I was just looking around," Alex stammered. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have touched anything." Nira's gaze moved from Alex to the active console, and her expression hardened. "What did you see?" "Enough," Alex admitted. She decided honesty was the best approach. "You're not just a commander. You're their queen." Nira's shoulders slumped slightly, the anger in her eyes replaced by weariness. She stepped into the room and sealed the door behind her. "Queen in exile," she corrected. "My sister betrayed our people, allied with the Korthari, and seized the throne. I escaped with those still loyal to me, seeking allies strong enough to help reclaim our homeworld." "And you didn't think to mention this small detail when asking for our help?" Alex demanded, her own anger rising. "We put our entire station at risk. Would your people have risked everything for a foreign queen's war?" Nira countered. "Humans have barely ventured beyond your own solar system. I needed to know if you were worthy allies before revealing the true scale of this conflict." "Worthy allies?" Alex repeated incredulously. "We fought and nearly died for you. We deserve the truth." Truth is a luxury in war, Naira said sharply. My duty is to my people, to reclaim the throne from my sister before she destroys everything our civilization has built over thousands of years. And what about your duty to those who help you? Alex asked, stepping closer. Don't we deserve to know what we're fighting for? They stood face to face now, neither willing to back down. Despite her anger, Alex couldn't help noticing how Nira's silver eyes seemed to glow from within, how the markings on her face shifted subtly with her emotions. Hey, beauty queen, Alex said, her voice softening despite her anger. Next time try trusting me. Watch your mouth, human, Naira whispered, but this time there was something different in her tone, something vulnerable and yearning. The change in her voice sent a shiver down Alex's spine. The tension between them shifted, no longer just anger, but something more complex and dangerous. They were standing so close that Alex could see the tiny flecks of light in Nira's purple skin pulsing with her heartbeat. What happened next took Alex completely by surprise. Naira leaned down and pressed her lips against Alex's in a kiss that was both gentle and desperate. For a moment, Alex was too shocked to respond. Then she was kissing back, her hands finding their way to Naira's shoulders. The kiss lasted only seconds, but when they pulled apart, the universe seemed to have changed. Alex stared up at Naira, unable to find words. Nira was the first to break the silence. I should not have done that. Why did you? Alex asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Because I have watched you risk your life for my people. Because you face the Korthari without fear. Because when you call me that ridiculous name, it makes me feel like more than just a queen or a commander. Naira's admission came slowly, as if each word was being dragged from deep within her. Alex smiled. It's not ridiculous, it's just human. It is inappropriate to address royalty in such a manner, Naira said, but there was no conviction in her voice. Well, you didn't tell me you were royalty, Alex pointed out. So that's on you. A small smile curved Nira's lips. She reached up and traced the line of Alex's jaw with one six-fingered hand. My real name, my birth name that only family may use, is Nairavan Kalvex Celeria. You may call me Nairavan, if you wish. The offer took Alex's breath away. She understood enough of Vexillarian culture from their conversations to know that this was no small thing. Birth names were sacred, shared only with closest family. I'd be honored, she said softly. Nairavan. The name felt strange on her tongue, but the way Nira's eyes widened at hearing it told Alex it was worth the effort to learn to say it properly. Now, Alex continued, trying to get her thoughts back on track. Tell me about this sister of yours and how we're going to deal with her. For the next hour, Naira explained everything. Her sister, Taravex, had always been jealous of Naira's position as heir to the throne. When their mother died, Taravex had seen her opportunity. She secretly contacted the Korthari, offering them access to Vexillarian technology and territory in exchange for helping her seize power. The coup had been swift and bloody. Many loyal to Nira had been executed. She had barely escaped with a single warship and a small crew of loyal warriors and their families. Our goal was to reach the Alliance worlds beyond the Centauri Arm, Naira explained. They have long been trading partners with the Vexillarian Empire. I hoped they would provide military support. But the Korthari caught up with you before you could get there, Alex guessed. Naira nodded. We've been running and fighting for months. Your station was the first place we found that offered help without question. Not entirely without question, Alex said with a small smile. But we did help. Yes, Naira agreed, her voice softening. You did. More than I had any right to expect. The ship's communication system chimed, interrupting their conversation. One of Naira's warriors appeared on the screen, speaking rapidly in the Vexillarian language. Naira responded, her expression growing serious. What is it? Alex asked when the call ended. Our long-range sensors have detected multiple Korthari ships entering this sector, Naira said grimly. They're not just sending reinforcements. They're sending a fleet. Alex felt her heart sink. How many ships? 5 battle cruisers, Each larger than the one we fought before, Naira replied. They will be here in 4 days. The news was worse than Alex had feared. Their station and one Vexillarian ship had barely survived fighting a single Korthari vessel. Against 5, they had no chance. We need to evacuate the station, she said. Get everyone out while we still can. Naira nodded. I agree. My ship can escort your evacuation vessels to the nearest safe port. And then what? Alex asked. You continue running until they catch you again? I will find another way to reach the Alliance, Naira said, but she didn't sound convinced. Alex thought for a moment. What if we brought the Alliance to you instead? What do you mean? Earth is part of a defense pact with 3 other species, Alex explained. It's not as powerful as the Alliance you're seeking, but it's not nothing. If I send a message explaining the situation, the full situation, including who you really are, they might send ships to help. Hope flickered in Naira's eyes. Would they come for a queen they've never met of a species they've never encountered? 4 days later, Alex stood on the bridge of the Vexillarian ship, watching as the last evacuation vessels departed from Artemis 7. Most of the station's crew and all civilians had been sent to safety, leaving only a small team of volunteers to man the defensive systems alongside Nira's warriors. The last transport is away, Diane reported from her position at the communications console. Her voice was tight with tension. They'll reach the jump point in 20 minutes. Any word from Earth Command? Alex asked, though she already knew the answer. If help was coming, it would have arrived by now. Nothing, Diane confirmed. Alex nodded, trying not to show her disappointment. She had hoped that her message detailing the Korthari threat and Naira's true identity would convince Earth's military leaders to send ships. But perhaps the distance was too great, or perhaps they simply didn't believe the danger was real. This Korthari fleet has entered the system, a Vexillarian warrior announced. 5 battle cruisers as expected. Naira stood tall and proud at the center of the bridge, her silver eyes fixed on the tactical display. She wore her full battle armor now, the black material seeming to absorb light. The silver markings on her face glowed with an inner light. All warriors to battle stations, she ordered. Prepare to engage on my command. Alex moved to stand beside her. The plan is still the same. We hold them off long enough for the evacuation ships to reach safety? Yes, Naira confirmed. Once they are clear, we will attempt to lead the Korthari away from this system. They both knew it was likely a suicide mission. 1 ship against 5 battle cruisers had virtually no chance of survival, but neither spoke that truth aloud. I should have told you the truth from the beginning, Naira said quietly, her eyes still on the display. About who I am. About the real reason the Korthari hunt me. Yes, you should have, Alex agreed. But I understand why you didn't. Naira turned to look at her then, her expression softer than Alex had ever seen it. In my 2 centuries of life, I have never met anyone quite like you, Alex Carter. Before Alex could respond, the ship's sensors blared an alert. The Korthari fleet had increased speed and would be in weapons range in minutes. They've detected us, the tactical officer reported. All 5 ships are moving to surround our position. Shields at maximum, Naira ordered. Prepare to... She was interrupted by another alert. The communications officer's eyes widened in surprise. Multiple ships entering the system, he announced. They're coming in fast from the direction of Earth. Alex rushed to the view screen. Her heart leaped as she saw the familiar shapes of Earth Defense Force vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Not just 1 or 2 ships, but dozens. A full battle fleet. They came, she whispered in disbelief. The largest ship in the fleet. A massive dreadnought moved to the front of the formation. Its communications array activated, sending a message to all ships in the system. This is Admiral Lily Morgan of the Earth Defense Force, a stern female voice announced. To the Korthari vessels, you have entered Earth-protected space without authorization. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or face immediate destruction. They would not surrender, Naira said, shaking her head. The Korthari, never. Before she could finish, The Korthari responded with a barrage of weapons fire directed at the Earth fleet. The battle was joined instantly, energy beams and missiles crisscrossing the void between the opposing forces. "Take us in," Naira commanded her pilot. "Target the lead Korthari vessel." The Vexillarian ship surged forward, its advanced weapons adding to the Earth fleet's firepower. The battle was fierce but surprisingly brief. The Korthari, caught off guard by the unexpected arrival of so many ships, found themselves outmatched. For the first time, within an hour, 3 of the 5 Korthari battlecruisers had been destroyed. The remaining 2 attempted to flee but were disabled by concentrated fire from the Earth vessels. "The Korthari ships have surrendered," the communications officer reported, sounding surprised. "Admiral Morgan is requesting our presence aboard her vessel." Naira nodded. "Prepare a shuttle." As they traveled to the Earth dreadnought, Alex could see that Naira was nervous, a state she had never observed in the commander before. "What troubles you?" she asked. "We won. I must reveal myself as the Vexillarian Queen to your leaders," Naira explained. "The reception may not be welcoming. Many species fear our kind due to our technological superiority." Alex reached over and took Naira's hand. "They came when we called, that's a good start." Admiral Morgan met them in the dreadnought's main conference room. She was a tall, stern-looking woman, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Several other, high-ranking officers stood with her. "Diplomatic Envoy Carter," the Admiral greeted Alex with a nod. "Your message caused quite a stir at command." "Thank you for responding, Admiral," Alex said. "May I present Commander?" "Queen Naira Van Kalvex Solaria of the Vexillarian Empire," Naira interrupted, stepping forward. "I thank you for your assistance against our common enemy." The Admiral's eyebrows rose slightly, but she showed no other sign of surprise. "We received a full briefing from Envoy Carter's message. The Korthari threat to human space was reason enough to deploy our fleet, but the opportunity to form an alliance with the Vexillarian Empire was compelling." For the next several hours they discussed the situation. Naira explained her sister's betrayal and the Korthari alliance in detail. The Earth officers listened carefully, asking pointed questions about Vexillarian technology and military capabilities. "The Council has authorized me to offer military assistance," Admiral Morgan finally announced. "The Korthari represent a threat to Earth and our colonies. If they've allied with your sister, that makes her a threat as well." "You would help me reclaim my throne?" Naira asked, clearly surprised by the offer. "We would help establish a Vexillarian government that is not aligned with a species that attacks human outposts," the Admiral clarified. "If that means putting you back on the throne, then yes." The negotiations continued for several more days, as ships from other species in Earth's defense pact arrived. A formal alliance was drawn up, with Earth and its allies pledging military support to Naira's cause in exchange for Vexillarian technology and protection against future Korthari aggression. 1 week after the battle, the combined fleet gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. Dozens of ships from 4 different species, all prepared to help Naira reclaim her homeworld. On the bridge of the newly repaired Vexillarian flagship, Alex stood beside Naira, watching the fleet prepare for departure. "The Council has officially approved the alliance," Admiral Morgan announced during a final briefing. "Earth stands with the rightful queen of the Vexillarians." As the Admiral discussed tactical details with Naira's generals, Alex and Naira moved to a viewport, looking out at the stars. One of those distant points of light was Naira's home. "Your people accepted our relationship more easily than I expected," Naira observed, her fingers intertwined with Alex's. "Humans are adaptable," Alex replied with a smile. "Plus, it helps that you're technically royalty. My mom always said I should marry someone with good prospects." Naira's silver eyes crinkled with amusement. "Is that a proposal, Ambassador Carter?" Before Alex could respond, the ship's computer announced that the fleet was ready for departure. As the commanding officers returned to their stations, Naira paused, her expression suddenly serious. "When I reclaim my throne, Alex, I will need a royal consort who understands both my world and yours. Someone who can help forge a lasting peace between our peoples." Alex's heart pounded just as it had during their first meeting. but for entirely different reasons. Are you asking me to be your space queen? Watch your mouth, human, Naira said with a smile that outshone the stars. That's your majesty to you. Alex laughed and pulled Naira closer. I'll have to think about it, it's a big decision. Of course, Naira agreed, though she looked slightly disappointed. I'm kidding, Alex said quickly. My answer is yes, of course it's yes. Naira's smile returned, brighter than before. She leaned down to kiss Alex gently. You know, Alex said when they parted, when you first arrived at my station, I never imagined things would end up like this. This is not an ending, Naira corrected her. It is merely the beginning of a much greater journey. The fleet's engines hummed to life as they prepared to jump to light speed. Ahead lay war, danger, and an uncertain future. But as Alex stood beside the woman she had once teasingly called Beauty Queen, she knew with absolute certainty that no matter what galaxies separated them, no matter what battles lay ahead, she had found her home in the most unexpected place. Beside, a queen from the stars who had taught her that love transcends the boundaries of worlds. As the stars blurred around them and the fleet leaped into faster-than-light travel, Alex squeezed Naira's hand. So, what's the Vexillarian word for beauty queen? Naira laughed, a sound that had once been rare but was becoming more common. There is no translation. It is uniquely human, like you. Good, Alex said with a smile. I want to be the only one. Who calls you that? You are the only one who would dare, Naira replied, her silver eyes shining with affection. Together they faced the view screen, watching the streaks of light that would carry them to Naira's homeworld, and the future they would.